Hey there, just a quick little update. Welcome back to the big board. Having a look at Six Angles, Paulus's 6th Army. It's the battle in and around Stalingrad and the Operation Uranus and stuff like that. Runs from 19 November through 24 December 42. And I've struck a few stumbling blocks here. This apparently is a re-implementation of the SCS game from the Gamers, which is now MMP, of Stalingrad Pocket. And while that had its own challenges, the first version and second version was very different and played okay, but there were challenges with that game around headquarter hunting and things like that, which I guess is potentially a SCS problem anyway, if you want to play to win, as they say. So here, though, we have a different set of challenges. Obviously, there's a translation set of rules. I got those here, and they're all relatively clear. They're a little bit sketchy here and there, but anyway. The biggest problem I see, first of all, there's no air in the game, and so I'm guessing that's factored in some way, shape, or form into the formation counters in general. There's an interesting mechanic that if you retreat, you take a disruption, which reduces your movement, but it doesn't appear to reduce any other capabilities, so you can move a quarter of your move, but still fight and defend normally. What it does is slows you down, right? So as you're trying to retreat further, you get left behind and caught up in the conflict by the advancing enemy. But the biggest problem I find is supply. So there's this concept of offensive supply. You have these units, these Soviet units that can move, here we go, 5 movement points. And I've looked everywhere on the revised setup charts that were done by a fan, and in the rules, and on the charts, and on the turn track. These guys can move, and when you use them, they have to be stacked with an HQ. But when you move them, and then the stack with the HQ, and you flip it over, it gives you offensive supply, which enables a couple of things. It gives you a +2 on attack column adjustment. It gives you the ability to do overruns and a couple of little things. But nevertheless, these are important. Now, it says when you use it, you take it off the board, but it doesn't show you or explain to you where or how you get more. And I don't know whether this is the initial offensive supply and you just use them up and they're gone, so you got to husband them, or whether, as it implies in the rules, you can have up to 10 of them on the map. And in fact, let's see if there are 10 supply counters for us to use, because I don't think there are. There might be. Yeah, so I see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 German ones. The Germans can have up to 12. I think I've got all the other ones for the Soviets on the board, but I don't know how you get more. It doesn't say that anywhere in the rules or on the charts, and it's kind of a game breaker. I mean, I can guess that you get 10 a turn, or do you get 5 a turn, or do you get 3 a turn, and you got to rebuild your supply. I'm looking at Rule 8.0 supply units, the general rules for them. It tells you how they move. It doesn't tell you how they get onto the board. There are special rules for each side as to how they're used. It's really, just wonder if I could see something here that I've missed. Yeah, all Soviet offensive supply markers are removed at the end of each Soviet supply phase. So they're all moved. Removed. Now that's interesting. All Soviet offensive supply markers are removed. Does that mean even the unused ones are removed? And then you would bring back 10 again the next turn? And then you'd have to move them to the HQ? Maybe that's what happens. Why do the Germans then, therefore, by the same token, why do the Germans get 12? The German don't get 12. The German can transport them by air. German may receive supply units as reinforcement. So here it's clearly stated where they're supplied by the Germans. I got that. I remember that. You roll a d6 and it tells you how many you get, but we don't have a vision for the Soviets. And that unless I get some answers on BGG or Facebook or wherever, we're done, because I'm not going to make a rule up to make it work. We can see the historic breakthrough here, looking pretty much like how it happened. Down here, this is worse than any breakthrough that I've seen for in playing Stalingrad Pocket 2, or 1 for that matter. Quite the disaster. Here's the lead elements of the Soviet 2 huge armored corps racing towards this sort of hub here. Those guys are 4-steppers, so they're the weakest they ever get, I believe, is an 8 on offense. Where is that guy? I think this is it here. Yeah, they go down to a 13 or something like that. One of them goes down to an 8, 7, 9. Super tough units. Who's attacking that? Unless, of course, they become more than more than 2 levels of being out of supply, because you can be up to 3 levels of out of supply. Anyway, and that affects your factors. So I'm kind of stuck here. We'll leave it set up for a couple of days and see what we can find out. It's extremely disappointing because it's a beautiful looking game. I like the palette. I like the artwork. Oh, I think that's the other thing that's missing. Speaking of artwork, there's no airfields on the map that I can find. I know that there's supposed to be one up here somewhere. In fact, I think it's this town right here, Gumrak. I believe that's where there was an airfield there, but I'm not seeing those. These are all rail stations or rail junction points, but there's no airfields or anything that looks like an airfield on the map anywhere. Now, I could go get the Stalingrad Pocket map out. Actually, no, I couldn't, because I think I sold it. So I couldn't do that. I could pull up the SCS vassal module for that, I guess, and check it out. But I don't know if they're supposed to be on here or not. They're mentioned. You've got a land supply there, and they count for victory points, but they're not on the map. So all in all, a bit of a cluster, and extremely disappointing given that I've clipped this thing and whatever. Maybe I should have read the rules more thoroughly before I got started. All right. We'll crack this one up for the books, and we'll let it sit until we find out more. Adios.